What's the volume for the power work and the contrast training that we're doing? There's something called Peterson's chart that I think we have talked about maybe once before. It's like, how do we prescribe sets, reps, and volume for Olympic weight? It's based on Olympic weightlifting, but we can prescribe it to power movements like this. Now, by the time I finish this sentence, what was supposed to happen is this comes up. But it hasn't happened yet. That was coming. And I'll put these photos in the group later. While it comes up, give us another example. Give us more examples. We've given two. Give one more. Taze, can you give an example of a, either one, complex or contrast? No, complex. Give me a complex.
Can I maybe a heavy overhead press?
Yeah.
With a metal reticle throw?
How are you going to throw the metal?
Standing.
Yep. Awesome. Standing, because that's similar. Good. That's a good one. We don't usually talk about overhead movements. It's often neglected. Hold on.
You could do like a sled push with like an acceleration or sprint.
Yeah. Very good, because there's been a lot of research that, like, and don't get me wrong, like basic general force application of like squatting, deadlifting does obviously by far enhance acceleration, but to maximize PAP, you really want to get something that translates that horizontal force application. And a sled push, or like a prowler march, something like that, is fucking fantastic.
Yes. Can we write that down and put an asterisk next to it? Because probably one of the most effective pairings, if you've got an athlete comes to you and says, I want to get faster, too slow. Go prowler into a sprint and do heavy prowler walks. They will do wonders. Awesome. Asterisk. No one's writing it down. Write this down. Our memory
Force applications, the exact same. Mechanics, extreme similar. Forces you into good position, so it's already teaching you technique prior to doing it, and then you get the PAP effect.
And now here, finally, is Peterson's chart. You guys can see. So now you know, you have a guide. So percentage of 1RM, where we are on the force velocity curve, let's say we're going heavy. 1 to 2 reps per set. Total reps in a session sits somewhere around 7. And the range of reps sits somewhere between 4 and 10, which means like this is an optimal single number, but you can sit somewhere between this range for the entire session. And that dictates your volume. So it doesn't matter how many sets you take to get there, 1 to 2 sets, that could be 1 set all the way to 5 sets, if you do 2 reps. We'll go on the other end. Oh, but still not back.
We'll just plug it into Verge.
It's unfortunate.
Wait, so I'm confused. So it's saying to do 2 reps per set at 90% of your 1RM. But are they saying it's good to do 7 reps?
In total. So how many sets are you doing? Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So, okay.
You're not gonna.
Like you do 3 sets of 2 reps and you get.
Yeah, I get
Yeah.
total
Yeah.
volume.
Okay, I get you.
Yeah.
You'll take a rest between, like you do 3 reps, take a quick rest, then do the next 3 reps.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's a better description.
Yeah.
You give an example. You have 1 set, and within that 1 set, you have mini sets.
Yeah.
So I gave 2 examples here: strength, power, speed. So we could have like we want to get a lot of work done in a short amount of time. What's the benefit? So we got 1 to 3 sets. rest. 1 to 3 sets, rest. 1 to 3 sets. What's the benefit of a cluster set? Man, power and Andy said power and strength don't drop. We can maintain high force, high velocity output by resting in between and still get that dosage multiple times, more exposures in a shorter amount of time, high quality work.
Would you use this for the football sort of thing you're at, since they're doing like 3-4 second bursts all the time?
Would we use clusters?
Yeah.
100%. So we would build up to a cluster set. So we'd go like so say we did 4 sets, we'd go set of 3, set of 3, set of 2, then we'd go a set of 5, and go 2, 2, 1. Does that make sense? Or like you can go a set of 3 and 1, 1, 1. Does that make sense? So 100%. As they build to their max load, we want output to be high. We would have tendo units on them. I don't know if you guys know what tendo units are. Measure bar velocity, bar speeds, to make sure that, and we'd have certain numbers we'd want them to hit as a minimum. And yeah, in terms of clustering, 100%. Like if you're building up your athletes, you want force. Like we're talking about athletes that are building it, they have that strength basis. Like they're going to be able to produce maximal efforts of force and power. We want that to stay at a high output. So definitely, great example.
Great to use in season to minimize fatigue.
100%. Like think about it, like we're trying to reduce residual fatigue here. So it's like in terms of in season, a big one. Like we want to maximize output because in the day in season competition, that's when it's most important to shine. It's always called the time to shine period. And you want to reduce residual fatigue. So that's a huge one. And think about it, as you cluster, what can you do? What can you do more of? Well, not necessarily if you want to do more load, you can push more load, can't you? So you're already forcing the output to go higher. Yeah. So I agree. So anything to add?
Yeah, that's true.
Nothing to add but more light.
You wouldn't know why I do that?
Wake you up.
Get you guys flowing.
Get more light in the room.
Yeah, so the more light you're exposed to during bouts of learning or anytime you need high attention and focus, basically it improves attention, focus, should have some effects on cognitive function and arousal. So you guys are less sleepy and more awake.
That's why you don't use light before bed.
Yes, because you want to do the opposite. Very good. That's what we've been doing with Andy. So
And that's still what I do before bed.
But just chuck on blue blockers then, or install apps that reduce blue light. You can kind of have your cake and eat it too. You're not going to do that, are you?
No,
Until I have issues.
That's dumb. It's like as coaches, we're trying to help.
Fucking dumb.
No, it is because
You're
it's
dumb.
contradictory. Because as coaches, I'm gonna attack you.
No, I'm not taking nothing.
I don't want to attack you. You're fucking dumb.
As coaches, we're proactive. Yet we're not proactive with ourselves and our own health. Like there's a bit of a disconnect there. Like sleep is the best performance-enhancing drug that we can all take for us and our athletes.
You can get banned because you have so much fucking sleep.
How much did you have?
Don't even train, just sleep with it.
Sada's gonna fucking put you up. Get 10 hours sleep.
You fucking dog. Sada breaks into your house at midnight.
Wake up.
What the fuck, you asleep? I was gonna get more than 8 hours of fucking dog. They're doping, aren't you?
Yeah, like that's a joke. Literally that.
Alright, we'll get off that high horse. Strength, power, speed. Bodybuilding. This is the context that can be applied to in bodybuilding for hypertrophy. I use a lot. If you want to hit a lot of volume in a short amount of time, we could do like a myo rep set, which is basically a type of cluster set where we will do, I'm going to write a prescription of 20 to 30 reps, for example.
Well, red pen.
You took the black.
Maybe it's more sleep.
Too much light at night.
Spending too much time on TikTok.
You know what? What's dangerous about that thing, as soon as you open it up, it shows you. It shows you videos. And you just bang, it's just like straight, it's very smart app. And even if I follow 0 people, I still see shit.
Bastards. The algorithm.
I try to just post and go, post and drop. have that intent and I save a lot of time. But sometimes it gets me. Shit!
Fuck. 3 hours later. Fuck. I fell for it.
No, for me, I'll be mad at myself. After like 5-10 minutes, I'll be mad at myself.
You'll punish himself. No sleep tonight.
I'm my lamp on when I sleep tonight.
No oysters today.
That was the reason I was a little late this morning. Because I was
TikTok?
lying in bed on TikTok.
Kidding.
I got sucked in.
So 3 or 4.
TikTok.
Okay, was there anything interesting or like actually entertaining?
Next time.
No.
Just go.
No, it's all like
app's just
it's like
fine.
based off of what you watch and interact with the most.
That's
So
fine.
mine is like a lot of psychology and like that stuff.
Send it across. Like if we're all going to be late, we may as well like watch it.
But it's like red flags or this is your attachment, you know.
Red flags to look for on your first date. Did you watch?
It's so
Screenshotting every
pretty.
second
Yeah,
TikTok.
it's like a circus.
Did
I
you
love
watch
red
that
flags.
psychology video that I sent Foreman of?
How to make sure girls like you.
No,
I
I
did
didn't.
watch it.
But I did buy the book.
40 Laws of Power?
No, The Art of
The Art of Seduction.
I'm halfway through it and it's the hardest fucking book I've ever
Yeah.
read in my life.
Really?
I did buy
Like,
it.
I just like can't understand how I'm supposed to apply all that. Like, it is the most toxic fucking book.
What does he
ever.
say?
Like, have you not read it?
No, I haven't.
Oh my god, he's
It's on my
literally talking
bedside
about just like taking advantage of people and shit. And it's
Yeah.
like, it just, to me it seems like, because I'm like putting in like a relationship thing, it just seems like quite toxic. Do you not agree?
Yeah, it is. It is. I
Use
listened
the
to the
person.
audiobook
Digital.
of that book.
Fuck him off.
Now, when you're on your first date, make sure they pay for
Hashtag
everything.
I don't entirely agree, but I can understand why people have that perspective.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'm just struggling to use it because I know that you recommend it to like use it to like influence clients and stuff, but like I'm struggling to see it in that perspective.
How to influence and influence people would be a really good one to start with
I'm
then.
about to read that.
Yeah, that would be a really good one. I would go there maybe even beforehand. and
I've
give
got it,
yourself a
but I
break.
started on other seductions.
Yeah, or just look up book summaries on YouTube and hear people's perspectives like I've done with the 48 Laws of Power, and you get a different take on it. But the point is, the game will be played. That game you're reading that doesn't resonate with you, people do it every day. So if you're aware of it, then you're less likely to be taken advantage of. You know?
That's what I realized listening to that book. Like,
Yeah.
because if I would have read it, like it would have been like harder. With audiobook, it was like a bit fine to listen to it, but like the hardest book I read was 12 Rules to Life.
Yeah, that's that.
That was fucking hard.
Yeah.
Like,
I just
you can't read that book at night. That
yeah, you'll be spinning.
Fuck.
So I summarized every single chapter of that book on my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So if it's struggle to understand, maybe have a look at that.
Yeah.
Because I try and
After
digest it.
after a few paragraphs, like I have to like search up what the fuck this word means.
Yes, yes.
What
Yes.
book was it?
12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson. Have you heard of Jordan?
I've heard of the book.
I'm really glad about
Oh, you
that.
haven't heard of
Got
Jordan
it, Jordan
Peterson. You would, I think you would really resonate with some of his philosophy.
It's worth it, but like
Or it would challenge you. Either way, it's good.
Search him on TikTok.
He's coming down here.
You just type in 12 Rules for Life on YouTube and you should see some interesting
I
stuff.
send that.
Maybe.
Pardon?
Is he coming to Melbourne?
Yeah, he's coming. He's coming again.
Yeah.
I saw him
Yeah.
speak, and it was one of the best speeches I've ever seen or talks I've ever seen. I've never been as captured and engaged by a speaker ever in person. He had the whole audience on a pin drop. Everyone was dead silent. They were hanging on every single word.
I've listened to a few of his lectures online and like fuck.
Yeah. Yeah. Recommend if you like philosophy and psychology.
Back to
Cluster
cluster
sets.
sets. Back to cluster sets. Alright.
What a tangent that was.
Okay. Where the fuck did that go?
I don't know, bro. But I was going to come right at that hole. That's what happened.
Alright, cluster.
20, okay. Bodybuilding context, cluster sets, hit a lot of volume in a short period of time. Myo rep set. The set would be 20 to 30 reps in total, and you would do 5 to 10 reps and take a 5 to 15 second pause, repeat. 5 to 15 second pause, repeat. Now I can train at a high proximity to failure repeatedly to create a large stimulus for growth and strength.
So thinking about it, mechanical tension is going to be high, muscle damage, metabolic stress, because the volume's also going to be high.
100.
So between like usually going to be around, like for both strength, power, speed and bodybuilding, about 5 to 15 seconds. That you said.
Bodybuilding would be 5 to 15 seconds, short rest. Strength, power, speed, you could extend that out to maybe 20 to 60 seconds.
Yeah,
Do you agree, disagree?
I agree. You can go, like, look, you can vary it up. Like, you can go between, yeah, you can go up to 20 seconds, you can go up to 30 seconds, you can go all the way up to 60. Probably not as practical, but like, yeah. I probably would go on the higher end just a little bit, just to maximise the output.
If you have more reps, have more rest.
Yeah.
If it's a 4-rep cluster set, give yourself more time. Just think about phosphocreatine recovery times and like not exhausting that full PC rate of recovery.
What was it, like 2 minutes 45 seconds?
Do that 3 minutes
3 minutes, yeah.
for the majority of it. But it's like, what is it, like a minute or 90 seconds will get you like 75 to 80%. Complex, contrast, practical examples, force velocity curve, neural primer as an example, French contrast training, cluster sets. How do we think about all that?
Dangerous.
Yeah.
It's week 12 this week, isn't it?
Well, because you guys did a week that was, no, it should be 13 now. Because you guys did the assessment class last week. So you should be up to finish module 3, absolutely. If you're not finishing module 3, you are behind, assessment-wise. Get it done.
Do it out.
Have we set for yet?
No.
Okay, that's fine.
The 2 things we'll finish with is we're going to do a program case study, and then we're going to go down and do examples. We're going to actually do it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Is there any questions with any of this, just before we move off it?
What did I miss?
What? This good question.
Everything.
What's the force velocity?
So we have the case study is a 26-year-old male. Let's flip this bad boy. Can I flip that bad boy?
Yeah.
Let's flip that. And this will be helpful for some future assessments. So you can use this as an example for future assessments.
I've put a few links in the WhatsApp group. Just like different types of cluster.
Thank you, man.
You just want to.
That's awesome.
Shane English.
Quite a few.
So is he want a 6 to 8 week program? Yes. Here we go. 6 to 8 week strength power block. 26-year-old male. Past pre-screening tests. Previous ankle injuries on the right and left. Cleared for training. Rugby player. Looking to improve strength and power. We must utilize at least one advanced method of PAP training. And 2 basic to intermediate levels.
What do you mean by advanced and basic?
French contrast advanced, basic to intermediate, cluster sets, intermediate, contrast complex.
What was his training age?
26.
No, that's
No, his training age. Give me
training
fucking
age.
chronological age. His training age.
Make it up.
Well, can't give him that without fucking training age.
Yeah, you can.
If he's a novice, why the fuck are you doing post-activation potentiation? Just trying to be honest. So I'll come
Now,
up
if
with-
you grab an athlete in season, that could be an exception. If you
I
work
still
with an
wouldn't do
athlete
it
on
honestly, because
season,
their training age is so low, you can get strict, you're gonna get power adaptation as well.
we can go 2 years training age.
Just say, you know what I'm saying? Can I just put it out there? I'll just say, put down, just make it, just because you're saying you're gonna use a high training intervention, just say they're competent at all the basic movements, and they're a 1.75 to 2 times body weight squat deadlifter. And that means because their strength is maxed out, the adaptation has to be velocity specific. Just say that.
Yeah.
Don't just say 2. I can see what you're saying though, I can understand that they wouldn't. For us, just say, put on the board, 1.75 2 times body weight squat deadlifter, they've maxed out the strength, so we know from research, especially Matt Rear from the University of Alabama, he's actually saying 1.75. Once you get to that strength level, there's no changes in power, speed, or velocity adaptation past that point. So chasing after strength isn't the goal. What is the main adaptation we want for athletes? The reason why I'm bringing this up is because it's an athlete. So for me, it's kind of our area. What's the main adaptation we want for athletes? Is it strength, power, and what else?
Speed and power.
Speed. Power and speed, so velocity, they're the most 2 important adaptations. We improve strength to maximise power and speed adaptation to make it more robust. Everything else is secondary to that. So this is a good case study, really good case study, apart from the fact that we can say where your strength level is at. But other than that, really good. So for you guys, it's a good opportunity to really develop your skill set other than just doing traditional client methods in general population. So, did you write that up, by the way? Because that's really good.
No, actually, this is just provided to us.
Okay, really
Where we added
fantastic.
some
Good.
stuff to it.
And this is the reason why I know this, because this was my project, pretty much my honours, looking at neurological adaptation and power adaptation, post-activation potentiation. And by the way, it's actually not a neurological, I used to think it was a neurological mechanism, but it's actually not. It's at the muscular level, even though no one gives a fuck, because then the day we're practical. But I used to think it's neurological. It's actually been proven really these days to do with the release of calcium down the sarcoplasmic reticulum in the T-tubules. It's going to sound weird me saying this, but to the cross bridges. So what happens is, because they haven't recovered properly, if you leave it too long, the potentiation's not going to work. If you don't leave enough, what are we going to have? Too much fatigue, correct. So we want that happy medium, and the recovery period dictates on their training status. A higher trained individual will have a potentiation effect longer than someone who's less trained. A less trained individual will have more fatigue. A higher trained individual can have whole potentiation for longer. We know that, right?
Hold on, pause. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
So you can afford to rest them longer. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, correct. And what I do with my guys is, as long as they have a strength base, like a guy like Kurt, this former AFL player I'm training, and I don't know, Max Manov and Chris knows this, right? I've been doing a lot of strength work with him to prime it, and then do a velocity, power, speed movement secondary. And because he's highly trained, he was like afterwards, I want to go. No, let's hold a little bit longer, reduce accumulated residual fatigue, then go to the power, speed movement. Because what is the number one factor for power, speed, movement? What is the number one thing we want? For power, speed, movement, what's the number one thing we want? Well, yeah, but what's the number one adaptation we want? What is it? It's the speed of movement. We don't want it to be slow. We want the actual movement to be fast. There's two factors to power adaptation. Actual movement, you guys should write this down, because I use this all the time. Write this down. Two important things when looking for power speed. First one, actual movement speed. Write this down. Actual movement speed. And the second one is the intention to move the weight quickly, regardless. So we know through research and anecdotally, right? The heavier the external load, the slower the bar speed. But as long as the intention is to move the weight quickly, you're a rugby league union player, right? Yeah. Let's say you're a big guy. Let's say 200 kilos on the bar, right? Generally speaking, the actual bar speed might not be quick. But as long as your intention is to move the weight as quick as possible, we're going to get that neurological drive that we want, okay? Once again, actual movement speed versus intent. This is why it's important we keep, and Alex is really good at this, he talks about this all the time, I heard him talk about it, it's really good. Keep the reps lower. Have that alactic system, what he just said, I love that. That alactic system, that ATPPC, that's the pathway we want. Alactic, aerobic, middle ground, right? No man's land, this is the one we want for strength, power, speed. This is what we want for recovery. This one we do every so often. What Alex is talking about is this first pathway. Now you think about it, if I'm doing over 8 reps, guys, what pathway I'm probably not going to use? The middle pathway. Now what's going to happen with the actual bar speed? Slow, right? So the adaptation is going to be what we call suboptimal. Okay, we don't want that. We want optimal adaptation. Okay, we don't want maladaptation, we want adaptation. So this pathway is critical. This is where this comes into it. It's really good because for you guys, you're learning a new skill set. This is what you need to learn, especially if you want to train athletes. You need to learn this stuff. Okay, so the actual movement speed is important, right? And also another thing is, most people have no fucking idea how to give intent. And when I say intent, right, I'll give you an example. Kenneth first came out of Woodford when he was a kid. How old were you? 17. Had no fucking idea how to move anything quick. No one does when you're a kid, right? After a while, he got to the point where he started understanding the intention to move the weight quickly and give maximum effort. Because to recruit high threshold fast twitch motor units, those fast twitch fibers, okay, you need intent. Okay, you need maximal effort. You guys all understand that?
Yeah.
Okay? And there's 3 ways you recruit fast twitch fibers, right? And for this one, it's a perfect example. Heavy load, low rep. Do you guys want to write this down? I don't know if you want to write this down, but if I would. Write this down. Heavy load, low repetition, the first one. Heavy load, low repetition. These heavy load, low, thanks, Al. Heavy load, low repetition. The second one, sub-maximal loads lifted explosively. So like power training, like anything where we're doing dynamic effort, we're moving it quick, loaded jump, something like that.
What is sub-maximal load?
Sub-maximal load lifted explosively, very important, lifted explosively. And the last one is sub-maximal load lifted to failure. They're the 3 ways you recruit high threshold fast pitch moments. Now, for this example, which one does it? Which is the one, the suboptimal one we don't want? You guys work it out. You tell me which one.
We don't want failure.
We don't want failure. Okay, that's more of a bodybuilding way of doing it. That's what we call repeat effort or accumulated volume work, right? The first 2 ways are exactly the 2 ways you're going to maximise high threshold fast pitch volume recruitment during this example. Heavy load, low rep is more traditional strength training. And then what we do is we take that traditional strength training, we get the primary effect, which Alan's talking about, the post-activation potential, complex contrast training, and we integrate it with the sub-maximal move quickly. Now, the one thing I will say before I finish up on this example is, when I use the sub-maximal explosive work training, what exercise do I want to choose to maximise power output? What don't the traditional lifts allow me to do, that the power lifts allow me to do? What do they do?
What do you mean by
So, example, right? Squat. What's the limiting factor in a squat? What happens with a squat? You're decelerating pretty much all the way up, right? What takes away that deceleration to maximise speed and rate of force? Projection into free space, right? The best movements, it's the best thing I ever learned, right? The best movements you can learn is choose movements to project into free space because you maximise rate of force development and you maximise power, right? And this is where you can give more effort. So from a squat to a squat jump, from a bench to a bench throw or a chest pass, okay? From a split squat to split squat jumps. You understand what I'm doing, right? Yeah. Take this example, use it, get better, and I've given you a theory behind it. Now you guys need the practical example behind it, okay? And just enjoy this, because this is something I fucking love. I fucking love this shit. Like, I could talk about this all day. If you want to stay, I'll talk about this all day, because for me, this is when I heard him talking about it, I'm like, ooh.
Bread and butter, baby, bread and butter.
But yeah, this is my bread and butter, really. This is what I'm known for, so this shit fucking I love. Like, if you guys want to talk about it, more understanding of it, please come up to me, I'm happy to talk about it. But Alex does a real good job of it. Like, what Alex was explaining was really good. And he's done a good job in this course, well, I'm really proud of him. So it's going to be shit when he leaves, but we've got dirt just as good, so we're lucky. But it's good. It's really, man, really fantastic. What you teach them, this is next level. Guys, you will not hear this at any other Cert 3 and 4, and I'm biased, but you do not hear this anywhere. When I did Cert 3 and 4, it was like chest tries and back buys. Man, I wish I had this. Like, I'm sitting here fucking over there, fucking being like, I wish I had this. So, you got any questions about the mechanisms, come talk to me. But we were talking last week for you about rehab and stuff like that, integration. This is money, man. This is the stuff that you want to do because you can do early stage treatment, mid to end stage return to perform. This is your work as well, so you can do all 3. That's where the money's at. And we signed 11 athletes last week on ACLs, hamstrings, back for you. So I said last week, perfect. You guys got any questions while I'm here for mechanisms, anything at all, anything you want to ask me? There's no stupid questions because if it was, I would ask it. So please, anything at all, I'm here for a reason. No? Andy, question? No?
Do you want to go over the 5 ways to improve neuromuscular?
Yes! Fuck yes!
You're going to do that. Come
yeah, okay, yeah, yes, fuck yeah. Fine.
You've gone over this now, actually.
Yep.
That's a great
Okay, so I came up with this list, right? This is crazy, actually. I learned this off Dan Baker's a big one, thank you. So I had Dan Baker, who's like, thank you. Dan Baker, who's like a PhD in strength, power, speed, or strength and power development. What I kind of thought was, when I started Woodford, I kind of felt like people just like, hold on. So this is force, this is velocity, right? This is the force velocity curve. So I want you to remember this. So someone asked the question, what's the force velocity curve? Did someone ask?
That was a piss take question, but.
Oh, well, okay, well, anyway, it's not really a piss take question, but the higher the force, the lower the speed, right? The higher the velocity, the lower the force, right? So the whole idea is to surf the curve so your nervous system, so this is pre-training, This is post-training, right? So we've actually improved this much, right? So we're producing higher force and quicker movement speed. Makes sense. That's the goal of a performance coach, to maximise power, speed, elasticity and stiffness, right? That's the whole idea, right? And I came up with this I'd say map on how to maximise, I've got 5 areas to maximum neuromuscular power development, right? First one is slow, write this down, slow, velocity, strength. Okay, that's the first one. Now, I just said before, I'll ask you guys, what's the equation for power? Power equals what? Okay, so power, so let's go back to the start. Let's keep it simple. What's the equation for force? Force equals what? Mass times acceleration, right? So what that's saying, just so you guys understand this, is to maximise force output, i.e. contraction of the muscle, there's 2 ways. We can either lift a heavier weight, which is the mass, or we can accelerate it quicker. And that brings back to the other point, which I just said before, I'm glad I brought this up, is you can maximise force by just moving the weight quicker with more intent. That's why intention is so important, so accelerate the bar, right? So that's the first way. So remember that. The second way, we said this before, power equals what, guys? Force times velocity. So what's it saying is, what is the first equation to maximise power adaptation?
Increase force.
Increase force, right? So that's increased strength. Now, by the way, you don't have to do it this way. Like these other ways, like example, I've seen sprinters who are just very fast twitch dominant, and they're more on this side, and they're not as strong at all, but they go to the gym once, and they can lift heavy weights. Genetics play a massive role. Massive fucking huge role, right? And also, when we're talking about potentiation as well, it can actually work the other way. So instead of doing a strength movement first, you can do a power movement first and then do a strength movement. There's no rules to this, right? So don't think, oh, fuck, I have to do it this way. This is the issue with our industry. It's not black or white. And people think you have to do it a certain way. You don't. There's many ways to skin a cat, many roads lead to Rome. So that's so many times in my fucking career. But there is. Because you know what is the end goal? What is the end goal for you guys, right? Let's give an example to your example here, right? The end goal is this guy here. You want high level, he wants to develop strength or power. So let's just give an example. The closer the trained task to the motor skill, the greater transference. That's motor learning skill acquisition, right? The closer the trained task, the motor skill, the greater transference. Everything we're looking for is transference, right? We're never getting 100%. The only true way is what? The sport, very good, okay? But here's the kicker, right? The closer the trained task to the performance measure, the greater transference. So for you guys, example, he wants to improve his strength and power. What measures are we looking for strength and power, right? So let's try this here, right? So strength. What can we use to test strength in the gym? 1 RMs, so we can use 1 RMs, we can use 3 RMs correlated, we can use 5 RMs. The closer it is to the 1 RM, the better correlation, right? A true correlation 1 RM. Now, let's say, for example, we don't want to 1 RM test them because they don't have the orthopedic profile, right? I personally, it can be dangerous if you don't do it properly, right? What's other ways we can use it? Way we can test it, which is it's the most safest way. But you gotta have money for it, really. And we're getting one, so.
What's 10 unit?
What kind of Andy, you know? Yes, yeah, very good. You know, we talked about this before, force tests, right? So it's called isometric mid-thigh pull, and what we're using is force tests to see how much force we can apply on the ground. We're getting them, so hopefully you guys are halfway through your course. How much longer they got?
Yeah, halfway.
So how long?
13 weeks.
Okay, so we'll have it by 13 weeks. You guys can see it. We can actually, Chris can take you through it because Chris knows how to use it. So isometric mid-thigh pull is much force on the ground, right? So that's one we can taste strength, right? What about when we're testing power? So you want to improve strength and power, right? We're going to do certain tests. 135 RM, isometric mid-thigh pull. We can actually put the bar on the back as well. It doesn't really matter depending. But remember, how you test them the first time, you have to retest them the same. You guys, to make it valid, right? You guys understand that? Validity?
Yeah.
So you have to retest them the same way, right? Power. What test can we use for power?
Tendo.
Well, we can use a tendo. We can put weight on the bar, check how quickly they move the bar. We can do it at different loads and therefore different velocities. We can use, so we can write tendo. We can do, we can work on a jump mat. Now, if you don't have a jump mat, what can you use? Vertex. You can use counter movement jump. You can do a static jump.
There's apps you can get, $25.
Well, you can actually get a free app on VBT these days, and they can just check it as well. So there's free apps on that as well. Counter movement jump, non-counter movement jump, broad jump, so vertical displacement, horizontal displacement, number of apps. What I'm saying is this, right? You need to make a program. So if you're looking to improve this, right, when the coach comes to you and says, or the athlete comes to you and wants to improve strength or power, and these are the tests, it would make sense to choose exercises that correlate with the transfer of doing this. It makes sense. For example, if you're doing a 135 RM on a trap bar deadlift for a squat, it probably makes sense that we do lift heavy with a trap bar or a squat, because he's there doing that. Okay, it's specificity. The closer trained task, the motor skill, the great transference. Makes sense, right? So specific muscle group, motor pattern, tonic coordination, metabolic pathway. So it makes sense to do a squat or a deadlift, right? Let's say we're doing a isometric mid-thigh pull, right? Anything where you're applying a shitload of force to the ground, we're going to get transfers. Obviously, most transfers will be doing that. You could even do a rack pull, but you start to see what I'm saying. If you want to improve a broad jump, do the broad jump.
Right, second one. Second quality. So you got.
Okay, yeah, sorry, I could go on all day, sorry. Slow velocity strength. Now, slow velocity strength is what? Strength, right? So just strength with heavy loads, low repetitions, right? Second, fast velocity strength. Okay, fast velocity strength. So the first one facilitates everything. You don't have the first one, you got nothing. Because you can't express something rapidly if you don't have it to begin with. So what I'm saying about that is you need strength base to begin with, right? The second, fast velocity strength. Anything like, what's fast velocity strength you guys reckon? Have a guess. Yeah, well, good. You know what you're talking about, Andy. You should believe me somewhat. Good. Olympic lifting, weightlifting, loaded jumps, anything where we've got weight on the bar and we're moving it quick, like we're projecting, right? It could be even dynamic effort where we use bands and chains. I mean, in America they use it, I'm sure Chris will tell you. In Maryland we used it all the time. Bands and chains to minimise the deceleration. It's called accommodative resistance, right? You can use this in high level stuff too. So any loaded work, loaded jumps, weightlifting, anything like that, we call it high-low power or strength speed, right? Producing power against heavy external loads. The third one, SSC. Do you guys know what SSC is? Stretch cycle. Yeah, you know it. Stretch shorten cycle. Write that down. How do we develop a stretch shorten cycle? Plyometrics. Write that down. Plyo. Setting plyometric. Plyo. Now, just quickly, I'll quickly break down plyos again to make it even harder for you guys. With plyometrics, you've got a few of them, right? Fuck. Slow velocity. So you've got slow SSC, which is over 0.2 seconds. Okay. Fast SSC is under 0.2 seconds. Okay. So if it's a slow SSC, right? Slow SSC, right? It's over 0.2 seconds. A fast SSC, what I mean by that is, I'll give you an example. A depth jump, when I come off the box, my foot touches the ground, and then I jump back up, and you're trying to jump as quick as you can off the ground. So minimal ground contact, that's a fast SSC. A slow one would be something like I'd do. I'd come down because I'm old, then I absorb it, and then I jump up. I'm gonna stay on the ground longer. That makes sense though. The longer I stay on the ground, the higher I'm gonna jump. Okay? But it's going to be less to do with, it's still elastic, but it's less elastic than if I'm just trying to jump up quicker, right? Also, I'll keep breaking this down even more, right? There's two types of plyometrics, right? Depending on who you talk to. Extensive and intensive. Extensive are longer plyometrics, so longer duration. So we do a lot of this shit at Woodford. We do a lot of pogo stuff. Pogo is really good for stiffness and lower body stiffness, and general, a low level plyometric, right? Low amplitude plyometric. Extensive are longer. Intensive are shorter, more intense. A depth jump is an intensive plyometric. A pogo for like a minute, if you want to condition the foot ankle complex, is extensive, it's longer. Okay, if you want to write that down, write that down. I thought I'd bring that up anyway, right? SSC, 4, RFD, rate of force development, right? Okay, rate of force development, pretty simple. Anywhere where you're trying to move sub-maximal weight or even heavy weight quickly, we're going to get that rate of force development adaptation. Right? And also, just so everyone out there, strength adaptation is a neuromuscular quality. So it's a quality of the nervous and muscular system. Power is heavily neural bias. What I mean by that is it's dependent on the nervous system to recruit and train high threshold fast twitch motor units and do so quickly. Right? It's heavily nervous. I don't give a fuck who you are, it's nervous system. This is what controls everything, right? Always slabs of meat, right? So RFD, move it quick. Number 5, last one, in my opinion, the most important. Inter, muscular coordination. Intra is motor increment firing frequency rate coding. Inter is, write this down, intermuscular coordination. INTR, muscular coordination. Right? Intermuscular coordination is what we call motor learning skill acquisition. Right? Learning the skill. The nervous system has to learn the appropriate recruitment patterns. The best athletes in the world can contract and relax quickly. Like when they're sprinting, you watch the best sprinters in the world, they just contract, relax. That's a bad example. But let's say the quickest football players, non-track stars, right? They can contract their nervous system, switch on and off muscle groups at will, real quick. It's called neuromuscular recruitment, right? It's a skill. So INTR muscular coordination is motor learning skill acquisition. The nervous system becoming efficient at recruiting motor units at the right time and the right time in coordination, right? That's the most important, right? So I'll write this down, INTR, intermuscular coordination, right? So we have 5. This is my 5 areas to neuromuscular power development. I'll quickly go over it. Slow velocity strength lift. Fast velocity strength, anywhere where like loaded jumps, weightlifting, anything we're lifting heavy weight or sub-max weight quickly, right? SSC, plyometrics, right? Minimal ground contact time to make it a plyometric. Rate of force development, anywhere you're moving the weight with intent quickly, we're going to maximise rate of force development. And the last one, motor learning skill acquisition, intermuscular coordination, okay? Is there any question about that? Just let everyone know that took me years to understand. I've given it to about 15 minutes. I've talked very quick, but as you can see, I've learned a lot about. I've read a lot of papers on this shit. So, if you guys have any questions on this stuff, and don't expect to get it straight away. It takes a
I will
while.
have you afterwards.
You can talk to me afterwards, not now. But you can talk.
I
to
will
me
like
afterwards.
slowly like once I put.
You can just ask one question if you want, so the whole group can hear as well.
Nah, I don't have it.
Well, you said you got heaps afterwards.
Yeah, I will.
You sure you don't want to give me one question for the group to learn as well?
No, like not at top of my head, but like it will come. The question.
Okay, that's right, that's fine. Now, anyone else got any other questions about this? I know it's a lot to take on board, but it's actually really important to learn this example. Anything at all? No?
Well, give more than fucking 2 seconds. Chill.
You want me to hurry up, I thought, so I'm just kind of going through it quickly. But listen, this stuff here, it's not easy to understand, like takes a while, but remember, this is my, what I'm known for, my bread and butter, so really I kind of double down on this stuff. Like everyone's got to double down on something. For some reason, I'm really good at rehab as well. I didn't really want to do it, but there's money in it, so I'm going to do it, and I do love it because it helps an athlete go back to sport. For me, I just love strength and power development, like I always have. I've always been like obsessed with it. Like since I was a kid, I used to read up on it. So the nervous system is critical to understand. You don't need to know all of it, but you need to know basics to Neuro 101. Like what is a motor unit? You know how we recruit motor units, Henman size, principal or none theory, shit like that. So no one's got any other questions about that? Yes.
Intermuscular coordination. That's the nervous system becoming
More efficient at the pattern of movement. Right. So like the example, right?
Can I just say something? Think of it like the relationship between the agonist and antagonist muscle groups. Yeah. So like the ability for a main muscle group to contract and another muscle group on the other side to relax. Like how efficiently they coordinate that contraction and relaxation.
And in terms of implementation, get better at that skill. Motor learning skill acquisition.
Yes, that's how you do it.
Yeah. And also, just write this down, you get when you lift weights, you get 3 adaptations. Write this down, it's important. The neurological. Number 1, neural. 2, muscular. And 3, motor learning skill acquisition. Now, depending on the athlete's training status, depending on the training status and their, training status, current training status, right? And loading parameters, write this down. Training status and loading parameters will dictate primarily what adaptation they will get. They're going to get all 3 regardless, but primarily, I'll give you an example, just for example for you guys, right? If you're doing a loading parameter, let's say you're a novice, right? You've never done it, you're learning how to squat and the loading parameter is 3 sets of 10. The majority adaptation you're going to get is neurological through motor learning skill acquisition, right? Now, if you have someone who's a highly trained individual, right, and their current training status is like they've been training, right? They've been training like good level weights, they've been doing it for a while, right? Good coaching, right? And the loading parameter is this: 4 sets of 2 at 90% of their 1RM of squat or whatever it is, right? The predominant adaptation is going to get neurological, not motor learning. It's going to be neurological. Let's say if it's anything over 10 reps, 8 to 10 reps, more metabolic, it's going to be more muscular. But regardless, you get all 3. And there's also, I will say this one thing before I leave as well. In terms of factors to motor unit recruitment, do you guys know the factors to motor unit recruitment? Write this down. Factors to motor unit
So
recruitment.
know why it's important is because you need to recruit motor units in order to get the adaptations for power, speed, strength, and
Correct,
hypertrophy.
100%. So you have three factors to motor unit recruitment. As Alex said, it's so important because we need to recruit motor units, right? 3 factors. The first one, load. Number 1, load. The second one, speed. So once again, we can move away quickly, we can maximize motor unit recruitment, right? Load. Obviously, we have heavy load, low repetition. Obviously, we're going to maximize max strength. Some max load, but we're moving quick, so speed. The last one is biochemical situation, right? This is very important. It kind of ties everything nicely into a neat little bow. Biochemical situation. Okay, biochemical situation is the acidity of the muscle, right? As long as the muscle's not acidic, we can maximize motor unit recruitment because making a muscle acidic, do you know what the pathway, lactate pathway, do you know what it accumulates? What's the metabolic byproduct it accumulates? It's not lactate, it's actually, lactate's used in the Krebs cycle as actually a fuel for aerobic respiration, which I found out from a mate who's actually a physiologist at the VAS, right? What it is the lactate accumulation overtakes lactate removal, and what happens is the hydrogen ions accumulate and the pH level of the muscle actually decreases, so it lowers pH. So the pH lowers in the muscle, makes the muscle acidic, so what it does is it inhibits nerve conductions. Now if anything inhibits nerve conductions, anything inhibits nerve conduction is not a good thing because we want to maximize nerve conduction. We want to maximize motor recruitment. So we don't want, this is why I said before, and it kind of brings it all back together with this, what you said, longer rest periods is going to maximise moving out that lactate or any of that accumulation byproduct. What it's also going to do is, which Alex didn't talk about, he talked about muscular recovery. What didn't he bring up, which is the most important?
Chris brought it up, neural recovery.
Oh, neural, well there we go, two great minds think alike. Neural recovery, which is, takes, depending who you talk to, but my honest supervisor, who is the guy in neuro in Australia, in my opinion, who's doing concussion now, but he knows better than anyone, he said 2 to 6 times longer, depends. 6 times longer, so example with this, right, you might have your muscular system recovered, right, so it might be like 3 to 5 minutes, 3 to 5 full ATP, 5 to 8 full ATP PC. Let's say 8 minutes you're recovered, right, but it might take 32 minutes, that's 8, let's say 16 minutes for the nervous system to recover. Now, that's not practical for us, I'm just trying to give you an example of neurological recovery rates. The muscular system recovers before the nervous system. This is why you might feel good the next day. The muscular system might feel good, but you still might have a bit of neural fatigue. And there's a number of ways you can test for it. Generally speaking, it's like if you feel like general overall fatigue, what's your motivation level like, stuff like that. What's your resting heart rate, stuff like that as well. But if you're still sore from your muscular system, your nervous system definitely not recovered.
Can it take like weeks to recover?
Yeah, 100%. Example, I was talking to Brick about this. He did a powerlifting comp. Could take you 3 weeks to recover.
When I would like max out with my bench, I couldn't bench like for 1 week at all.
Yeah, because you're recovering, your nervous system recovering, yeah, 100%. So, quickly, these 3 factors. So, what was the first one? Low. So, 3 factors motor equipment. Low, speed, biochemical situation. This is why it is so important to understand your sets, your reps, your rest periods, your exercise selection, your exercise order, your tempos, because that's going to maximise and create all the program template to maximise power and speed. Because if you're working and you have that acidic environment, no good. We're not going to maximise power and speed. But if we're working in the alactic pathway, we're giving maximal efforts, we're creating that high amount of ATPPC rapidly, we're getting that contraction, and we're creating fast twitch fibres, that's going to maximise power adaptation. That's going to maximise your programs as well. But if you're in that acidic environment, that no man's land, you're not going to get stronger, you're not going to get more powerful, and you're not going to recover. So remember, longer rest periods, make sure we accumulate, make sure we rid the muscular system as much residual fatigue as possible. Give the nervous system as much, everyone's different. You work out, talk to the athlete, get to know them. That's the art of being a coach. You can't tell us the art, I can't teach you, we can just only teach you the theory. The art's downstairs. So, load, speed, biochemical situation, alactic pathway is the main pathway. Keep reps under 5, maximum effort in 10. Any questions? That's like a theory in one. No? Cool. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. There's my TED talk for today.
That was great.
Thank you. Like that? Well, I thought I'd bring it up and just kind of go over it, because if we go over it,
I don't know if you realise,
Yep.
you taught us that and taught me that 7 years ago in the internship, and I have all these notes exactly. I'm looking at it, you're almost verbatim repeating it.
Yeah, well, I've done this a long time, man. I love this
Yeah.
shit, man. Like, this is I love it. Like, when you're in this industry and you like do something you love, that's why I always tell everyone, like, you guys are here, do it. This is the best job in the world. It's not a job to me, man. Like, I don't want to get emotional.
I've never called it a job, man.
That's never a job. I literally wake up every day. I'm proud of like everything I do here. I've done some stupid things in my life. We all know that, but fuck, man, I love this shit. I got to talk about this. Is not, as Alex says, not a job. So for you guys, you should be excited because there's so many opportunities. Like, look at Alex. Alex came as a young kid. Like, now he's like living his dream, doing what he wants, about to go overseas, doing whatever he wants. Man, good on him, man. Like, he deserves it. I still remember Alex's video which he sent me, man. I'd love to. I don't know if he still got it. It'd be great to.
Maybe I'll share that. Yeah.
In the 10-year birthday, that'd be great, man. I love it. So fantastic. So hopefully you guys can have a longevity in the career like all we have so far. 17 years and still going. How long have you been in it now? 8. You've been, well, Chris has been here since he was a kid, so 14. Chris wouldn't really know any different. Like, Chris has gone from Woodford to Iowa, back to Woodford at 20. So Chris probably doesn't know what normal is. But because I've taught him about how fucked the industry is, when I say fuck, everywhere else, like, he's kind of understands how it, like, he doesn't take it for granted. So for you guys, I hope you guys go away from this course and live every dream that you want, because I'm living my dream right now. So I only hope the best for everyone. So if you got any more questions for me, just please ask me afterwards. Is there any other questions? Sorry, any other questions at all? No. So you guys, yeah, it's a lot to take on though. Like without being, it's a lot to take on. But if you guys can, like you guys are all writing notes, go over them, record them, and then apply it. Like what Alex said, what you said is great. Like I love what he said, we're going down to apply it. We're not just going to sit up here, we're going down to apply it. Exactly, which is fantastic. So go down and apply it. Hey, nothing is, change over partners each other. Like, I don't know how they do it, but like coach each other up and shit like that and get involved. So you guys are doing a good job, so good work. There we go. That's it. Thank you. Appreciate it.
That shit's gonna click.
Holy moly.
That shit will click. There always comes a fucking time where you go 2 years from now, you're like, oh fuck, that presentation. Yeah,
Finally.
because it makes sense now,
Yeah, it does.
but it will make fucking sense. There's a difference between making sense and really fucking making sense.
Can you explain to
100%. Like that was the thing.
What Chris means is like
Makes sense.
understanding and comprehension, and then your ability to apply it. And once you can then teach it,
Then you got it.
Then you understand it.
Bro,
Once you
different level. Like bro, like because like Woody said, like I've listened to this since I was young, but man, there's times throughout like the past few years where you're like, holy fucking shit. Like that's that's what he was
like,
saying.
if you have a coach, like you like that, like that's when you actually you know like you feel like yeah.
Yeah.
Now I know it.
All right.
Alright, let's get
Let's go apply it now.
get
Because
rid
we're
of
not. No case study. Because that last half an hour was a bonus.
That's what we're gonna cost you guys
This one?
$1,000.
Yeah, I don't
The
quite
photo?
understand what that's
The,
You're getting
Good.
charged on
Now,
that.
the case study that you're going to do this.
yeah, you could write it up.
Yeah.
Good. You can pay for that.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
I'll send you guys the invoice. I'll send you guys the invoice for that.